Hey, hello, and welcome everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, for whatever places you're looking at us live today. For today's session, for our mastering RMM, we have our integration with Webroot that we're going to talk about. We'll talk about the installation, the configuration, and the setup. And to do that, I have Twinkle with me today. So, Twinkle, please take over.
Hi everyone, this is Wrinkle here, and I will be walking you all through the webhook integration that we have newly built in our series for mastering RMM. So let's get started. And so in the WebRoot integration 2.0, we have a non-bundled integration that is about where the license management is outside the ConnectWise, meaning that we have partners who have already purchased a WebRoot and RMM, and the ASIO platform is going to help manage those WebRoot endpoints. So the prerequisites for this non-bundled integration is an enabled WebRoot account where all the WebRoot console onboarding has been completed and the latest version of the RMM agent that we have. So apart from that, I will be now walking you through the user journey that we have for our WebRoot integration. We start off with an integration enablement where you enable the integration via the integration screen and set up the integration then and there itself. And followed by there would be a policy that would be enabled for you known as WebRoot integration. So once you create that policy, you would be able to then assign those policy to the packages, which will then lead to the silent deployment of the WebRoot agent in the background. And after the deployment has been completed, the information starts getting populated on the WebRoot endpoints on the devices page. So to quickly walk you all through the screens, this is how the integration enablement takes place. This is how the integration looks. And once you click on the slider on this particular type, this slide would open up with the connection setup and the site mapping. Once you enter the credentials that you all have on the connection setup screen, for which I will be providing you a quick demo, you all will be able to then find the site mapping screens over here, and you would be able to map those sites which are essential for you to complete the deployment, as policies require a site mapping in place to initiate the WebRoot deployment. So after that, after you have completed the integration setup, you will have to create a new WebRoot policy. And as you can see on the screen, and once these WebRoot policies have been created and assigned to the relevant packages, a deployment would be initiated in the background. So I will quickly walk you all through the integration and how it looks. So as you can see on the screen over here, this is how your product setup screen would look over here. As you can see, I have already entered the key credentials that you are required to manage the integration from ASIO. So here you need to add the username and password, the ones which you have used to onboard the WebRoot console. So there is a separate section for WebRoot console onboarding, and you can refer to the documentation to the same, which is there out in our university documentation center. But this username and password is the one which you will be using for the WebRoot console onboarding as well. Once inside the console, you will also be able to easily find the client ID, client secret, and the GSM key in the account section in the console itself. So after you have entered these credentials over here, you have to generate a token which is essential to establish connection between ASIO and WebRoot. So once that token has been generated, you can click on the test connection button over here, and as you can see, a connection has been established successfully. In case any of the fields are incorrect, these fields would be auto reset, and the connection will show a failed error, or your token will not be generated in the first place. So after both these validations have been done, you can click on save and proceed. And once you can click on save and proceed, you will get a list of WebRoot sites, as well as the endpoints that you will, as well as the ASIO sites and companies that you have on this integration. So also, once you get these sites and companies populated, you can also use the different features that we have on the site mapping screen. So find matches is one of the if in case you have multiple sites, find matches is one of the features that you can use as an auto matching function, which will automatically find the best match for your web root and ASIO site mappings. So if you click on find matches, it will automatically populate everything in the drop down that we have according to the best match algorithm that has been written in the background. But this does not mean that your site has been mapped. You will have to verify which webroot site is being mapped to which ASIO site, and then click on save and proceed. So before you do that, you can also look at the filters as to which sites have been mapped based on the companies and which sites have not been mapped, so that you can have a quick overview of whether your site mapping has been correctly done or not. So if you are using the find matches function, it will also show up how many suggestions it has given over here. And once you have done the manual mappings, that those suggestions, those count would be shown over here. So after that, total mappings will show you how many or some of the manual mappings that you have done and the suggested mappings that you have done. And once you click on save and proceed, it will also throw a pop-up for you to show which are the records that have been mapped manually, which are the records that are mapped with suggested maps. And here, as it is showing, as I have not mapped anything, it will show that two records are unmapped. So how many records are mapped and unmapped is the final confirmation that you need to click on continue, and then your integration is set up. So once the setup has been complete, we have to navigate to the policies section. And once the policy section is appeared, you have to click on devices. It is a device level policy. And here you can have web root integration. So once this has been completed, here you can toggle between the settings that you want for whether you want to install webroot for servers, webroot Windows for desktop, and install webroot for Mac. So based on these settings, only that deployment would be initiated based on those sites where this policy has been applied via a package. So for example, if you have enabled only webroot for servers, so then this would be webroot integration for servers. And you can assign this policy to only those sites where you want the webroot deployment on the server endpoints only. Similarly, you can also have servers and desktops, server and Mac, and so on and so forth with all the permutations and combinations. And based on that, you can assign this policy to different packages. So once we navigate to the packages, so here, this is a webroot integration package. So here, once this package has been saved, it is available for assignment to different sites. So based on the site that this package has been assigned, webroot installation will be initiated in the background. Please note that it is a silent deployment, and once the deployment has been completed, after some time, the information would be shown on the devices page, as you can see over here. So as of today, we are showing these columns on the devices page. That is the expiration date, the version of the web root that has been installed at the endpoint, whether that endpoint requires any attention, and if whether that endpoint has been infected, when was the endpoint last scanned, and what is the web root site key code that endpoint has been mapped to. So the expiration date will help you understand when is the license due for renewal. The version column helps you understand whether the webroot agent needs an update. In most of the cases, webroot agent auto updates itself, but this is a helpful column to understand where the webroot auto update has not happened. Attention required and infected are the key fields which will help you understand whether the endpoint needs some attention from webroot from a scanning perspective or not. The last scan helps you understand when was the latest scan that was completed and whether there is a need to scan this endpoint again or not. So webroot site key code is an information which is important to understand which endpoint is mapped to which webroot site in the webroot console. So for additional references, we also have our documentation on our docs and on our university. You can check out the documentation for WebRoot Integration 2.0 by scanning this QR. We have also added a list of frequently added questions for WebRoot integration. You can find questions related to the policy deployment, the information on the endpoints, the silent deployment, and the site mapping, and all the functions that I just explained in the FAQ section as well. Apart from that, this integration requires an enabled webroot account, that is the webroot console onboarding. So the last link is for the webroot console onboarding that you can see over here. This will redirect you to the webroot documentation which you can use to get yourself onboarded onto the webroot console. Please remember this webroot console onboarding is an important step. So once you complete that, only then you will be able to set up the integration in Azure. So any questions? We will also be exploring this integration further on Thursdays, so do make sure that you join our Thursdays webinar where we will be exploring more components of this integration. Please note that there is no